I saw this at a funeral home, sitting on a desk, and asked what it was. The staff said, "We don't know. We found them in the driveway and nobody here can figure out what they are." The objects are about an inch and a half in diameter, made of an unknown material. They don't seem to be part of any typical funeral-related equipment, which makes their presence even more puzzling. Could they be remnants of a vehicle, a piece of hardware, or something symbolic? Any ideas? These are rubber duckbill-style check valves designed to allow fluid to flow in one direction while preventing backflow. I found this spinning, spiky object in my grandparents' kitchen, and I'm trying to figure out what it is. Could it be some kind of sieve or grinder? Based on its design, I suspect that I might have taken the photo of it face down. It looks like you pour something into the top, turn the handle, and the mechanism inside processes or sorts the contents in some way. The spikes suggest it could be used for grinding, grating, or milling food items. Perhaps it's an old-fashioned food mill, a spice grinder, or even a specialized kitchen tool for processing nuts or seeds. Does anyone recognize this type of device? It's upside down. The funnel should be on top. This is an herb grinder, mainly used for finely mincing parsley and mint. I bought this colorful wooden contraption at the Grand Bazaar in Istanbul about 20 years ago. It features two large wheels made up of individual wooden spindles, which spin when the handle is turned. The entire piece is 39 inches long and 26 inches tall, and while it's not terribly heavy, it feels sturdy. The colors are now faded, but it appears to have once been very bright and vibrant. I'm curious about its original purpose. Does anyone know what it is? This is a spinning wheel used for spinning yarn, primarily for short fibers like cotton and silk. I found this while cleaning out a vacant garage. It stands about 36 inches tall, 42 inches long, and 24 inches wide, weighing roughly 80 pounds. The metal rollers rotate around the center and can spin individually. The body appears to be made of steel, while the rollers seem to be aluminum, though I'm not certain. Based on its design, my best guess is that it could be used for breaking in or reshaping a horse saddle, but I'm not sure. There's a plug on one side connected to a motor with a pulley and belt system that drives the rollers. I haven't plugged it in yet to test how it works, but I'd love to know if anyone recognizes this machine. Any ideas? A Niblack System Home Pony Slenderizing Machine. A silver-tone metal construction with metal rotating rollers, claimed by company to reduce cellulite and increase circulation. A dubious exercise machine. In reality, it's for a pleasant feeling in your nethers. I found this at a thrift shop and nobody seemed to know what it was for. It has some kind of wax residue on it, but I can't see how it would function as a candle holder. The top clip is spring-loaded and quite stiff to open, while the bottom cage also spins independently. The entire object is made of metal, and both the clip and the cage rotate separately. It seems like it could be used to hold or suspend something, but I'm not sure what. Does anyone recognize what this might be used for? This is a candle by the hour holder. When filled, it's the shape of a beehive. I found this brassy item at an op shop in Victoria, Australia. My sister bought it because she was intrigued by its mysterious design and unique shape. It appears to be made of brass and originally sat on a steel frame stand, though she only purchased the vessel itself. The bottom features several holes with fixed hollow protrusions, suggesting it was designed to allow something, perhaps smoke, air, or liquid, to pass through. The pins are firmly set and do not retract, adding to the mystery of its function. Without the stand, it's difficult to determine its exact purpose, but it could have been used for burning incense, filtering liquids, or as part of an industrial or scientific apparatus. Does anyone recognize what this might be? A long, thick rope with a metal cylinder featuring fins that appear to be designed for spinning. What could it be? This intriguing item is currently up for auction locally. I tried searching online using terms related to propellers and ropes, But most of the results were about ropes getting stuck in propellers, which wasn't helpful. At first glance, it seems like something meant to be dragged behind a boat, possibly in the water. However, I'm puzzled by how the rope would avoid getting twisted up during use. The location of the auction is within 20 miles of a major river, which makes me think it could have some connection to boating, logging, or water navigation. I'd love to know if anyone has more insight into its exact function. Any idea what it could be? This is a Taffrail log, a device used to measure a ship's speed through the water. As you may be aware, for centuries, sailors would measure their speed by casting a rope over the side and measuring how fast the line would spool out. They would tie a knot in the rope at fixed intervals, and if they're going fast enough that a dozen of the knots would be reeled out in a standard amount of time, example 10 seconds, then that's a speed of 12 knots. The speed itself came to be known as knots, and to this day mariners measure their speed this way. But the interesting thing to me isn't the rope, it's the bit at the end. See, if they just threw the end of a rope overboard, it might not reel out at a consistent speed. Maybe it would just flop on the surface or something. So to make the measurements more consistent, they'd tie a weight to the end of the rope. And since the first people to have this idea were working with what they had on wooden boats, they just grabbed a random wooden log for this purpose. Over time, the shape of these logs became more standardized, and maybe they ended up being made out of metal, or these days plastic. But it still gets called a log. But the really interesting thing to me isn't the log, it's what they did with it. See, if they're sailing across the deep sea, without sight of land for weeks at a time, it becomes vitally important to maintain accurate navigational records as they go. So it was essential to keep a book where they could write down vital navigational information. Measurements of how fast the log rope was going in knots, astronomical observations, compass readings, etc. And since they were keeping notes anyway, they might as well use the same book to keep records of, say, cargo manifests or personnel issues, illnesses, injuries, deaths, mutinies, etc., encounters with other ships, ports of call, and so on. But since the first and most important record kept in this book was the speed readings, and since these readings were recorded based on what the log did, this came to be known as the logbook. And as any fan of Star Trek knows, ships centuries from now will still meticulously maintain their captain's logs.